team players, and welcome back. Today is a great day. It's going to be our first official big-time DFS tournament, and we're doing the ones with the people, man. We're doing the $3 buy-in that get you 200 grand paid out on DraftKings. So it's got a maximum of 20 entries, so you're not seeing a gajillion people just applying to be in here. It's a really fun thing. We love doing the DFS. We're doing it both today and tomorrow. We're going to have some best bets for you for the upcoming weekend. And as always, when we're live, we're answering all your fantasy football questions. Sit them, start them, sit them. Man, Bob, I'm already losing. I'm so excited about this. But at any rate, man, with today being the DFS, we're doing on DraftKings. Why don't you break down the proven system for winning the big-time money? We're not talking about just getting by. We're talking about winning the big-time tournaments and what the best odds are there.
So when we're looking to build some DFS lineups, there's some tried and true profitability metrics that you can definitely go in and research. We're going to tell you a couple of them today. One of the biggest and most profitable that you can look at are these stacks. So we're talking, when we talk about stacking in best ball, we're talking about pairing a quarterback with a pass catcher. Sometimes you want to double stack it. You're pairing a quarterback with a pass catcher, with two pass catchers from the same team. But there's a lot of entries in these tournaments where it becomes super profitable when looking at games when you do a 3-to-1 stack, right? So a 3-to-1 stack, what we're talking about there is you take a quarterback and two of their pass catchers and then a pass catcher on the other team. And this is especially profitable when looking at Vegas lines and Vegas totals. When you're looking at games with high over-unders where the teams are not very good at pressuring the quarterback. It's also in certain
high over-unders and another clause there, and low spreads.
And low spreads.
You want it to be you don't want it to be a game where they take the foot off the gas at the end. That's why. So just look at this weekend particularly, Cincinnati, New England, higher over-under. But it's a huge spread. Cincinnati's going to lay their foot off the gas. So now, I'm just saying that up front. There's two games that jump off the board in the slate that we're doing. This is the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock slate for this particular event, which means no night games. Long story short, no night games. So the two games that jump off the board to me, Bob, just to read them off to you here, are Jacksonville and Miami. We're looking at over. Yeah. And then the other one being Indy and Houston. Both of those spreads are within a field goal. Both of those over-unders are over 48, the two highest of the window that we're able to play in here. And it's where I want to be when we start with these two. But also that being said, given the fact that it is a lower buy-in and you're allowed to do 20 entries, we're going to do more than just our two. But I want to start with that. And Bob, personally, if you're cool with it, I want to start with the Jacksonville Miami ideal lineup. If you're cool with it there,
yeah. And so, if we're going, another game I think that is worth watching out for, just because I think Vegas doesn't have this spread so accurate, is the Arizona Buffalo game. Because when we're looking at all the books here, there are
very good call.
There are books throwing this game out at 6, 6.5, 7, and the Texans game.
We're projecting this game to be 3.5, so that's a very good call out. We're projecting the over. So to give you our numbers on the Buffalo Arizona game, we're projecting the total points to be 47 with a 3.5 point edge to Buffalo. Said another way, we have the line is off by 3 points. So we're going off of our numbers just as much as the rest of them. But yeah, let's start off with Jacksonville, Miami, and then also dive into the Houston Indy game. And Buffalo's another one that's up there. So to give a quick little hit upon another, we can't do it because it's Green Bay. But the ones with the tighter spreads tend to be big. The closest game of the weekend might be because it's two garbage sheet teams. It's a pick 'em, New York and Minnesota.
Yeah.
We only project to be 44 points, so not necessarily something to jump on about. But to me, I value more the tighter spreads, that at least our projected version of the tighter spreads, than what the actual actual lines are. That being said, when we look at the Miami-Jacksonville game, as I keep bringing it up because, I'm all over.
Well, the over under is set at 49 points. And
yeah,
this is a so when I look at players right now, so there's a couple ways that this lineup could be built. We could probably build it 2 separate ways for just this game and put in some other players to flex throughout that aren't in this game. But I think the player, so 2 facets of the same coin there. I think if we go, and either one is probably going to save us a variable amount of money. I think a T-Law, Ingram, Kirk stack.
I love it. I was already thinking of before we started. Let's pop it in.
To start with, is going to be a fairly affordable stack, and gives us that. And the reason Kirk here is because rookies in their first game, like we were talking about, I like Brian Thomas in that game a lot, but I think that the way that they're probably priced in this scenario here is that they're probably priced fairly similarly. And if I see questionable on Kirk there, so it's worth looking up. What's going on there.
He resumed practicing on Monday. He had a calf at the end of training camp.
So
he should be fine.
Looking at DraftKings, especially knowing that it's PPR, knowing that he's probably going to slot in somewhere in that, in that slot role over the course of the season. This Miami defense isn't incredible. The spread, like we said, is already fairly high.
And the other joy about Miami, they're going to come out of the gate hot. There's some teams that we don't know that about. We know Miami's coming out hot.
So the other guy that I would kind of that I would flip over here, and I know we're considering pass catchers here. When it comes to the 3-1 stack, I'm considering the way that this game might float by. Hill is very expensive, and I don't think who I want. Hill is the guy that I would want in a lineup like this, but I'm also considering a guy like Achane. With Achane here, there's a chance that his high variability on a game-to-game basis, depending on his price, I don't know what his price is right now. It's
68, which would leave us, if we did this initial entry of Lawrence, Achane, Kirk, and Ingram, will put us at 52 for the remaining player. We can work with that.
Tyreek would be fairly high. Slotting in Tyreek is perfectly fine. I don't mind that at all.
We can't do Tyreek and Achane.
Right. So
here's the difference. If we keep Tyreek in it, we have less than 5,000 per person. That's gonna be really hard to swing. Achane is more dual.
Yeah, when it comes to these other games now, right? This is a primary stack. We're going to now look for some players on some other teams that will be worth looking at. And like I said, I think that it would be advisable, if not profitable, to look at a guy like Curtis Samuel or Khalil Shakir insofar as the Buffalo wide receivers. There always tends to be a high upside wide receiver that's going to go. And depending on the price here with Keon Coleman, I would also consider at the price a Greg Dortch type of caliber player or a Michael Wilson type caliber player.
So let's go through these in order. Shakir
this game is going to be crazy high scoring.
Samuel was 49. So I would rather go Samuel over Shakir.
The over and under on that game is 48.
No, I get it. They're going to score in that game. Samuel's going to give you volume. DraftKings is PPR. And I'd rather a little bit lean towards the volume. Plus, it'd give us a couple of extra bucks saving of that $200. If we don't need the 200 at the end, we throw Shakir in. But I want to start there in kind of the value bin. The other guy that I was liking low, and might be someone that I'm going to be argue as our third receiver a lot, because his price tag was fairly low, and I think his return is there. Sorry, as I'm scrolling up to him.
What game?
So it's Najigba. Denver only has one corner, and he's going to be on Metcalf. I think it's
going to shadow Metcalf.
I think it's a game for Najigba to shine. It's in Seattle, not Denver, and he's only 49.
Okay, the spread opened at 4.5. It's now at 5.5 on FanDuel, 6 on most of the other books.
No, I got you. I'm not fighting about the spread there. Now I'm just getting into individual.
All right. Over and under 42.
We have Smith and Jigba rated as our what here?
When you go to FanDuel or DraftKings, what is his projected? Just so we can get a little kind of a mark here, because I'm on my. Let me look on my phone.
The Jigba is projected to put up, according to DraftKings,
yardage
8.8.
No, yards. I want yards. Because that's probably basing a lot in the reception totals too. I'm looking more at yards.
Correction, that's his last year points per game.
Yeah.
Which obviously we're expecting a step up from that.
Yeah, let me go to. Let's see here. We've got.
We also have Jacoby Myers super low down here for only $1 more.
No, I'm not gonna bite into that yet. Just one moment.
Mm-hmm. And we have Myers as receiver number 25.
Jackson Smith is up there right now at 43.5 with an over under of 4.5 receptions. So let's look at all those values that are around it. So let's say that in this game and they have DK Metcalf at 4.5 receptions as well. So there's a likelihood that Jackson Smith could probably get 5, maybe get about 60 yards on those 5 receptions. I'd be okay with slotting in Jackson Smith here. Like you said, there's a pathway for his game to be successful.
And it also opens us up a little bit more money. A little bit more money to do the running back and flex.
Tyler Lockett could be another good play, depending on the price of Lockett.
Well, let's look at what Lockett costs. Lockett costs an extra $500.
Okay, not worth it there. All right, so then let's go back.
Oh, also, by the way, Coleman costs basically the same amount as Shakir and Samuels. I'm going to switch in Coleman.
Again, rookie. I mean, that's the rookie phenomena. I don't believe that they're going to rely on talent, but I also don't think that they're going to over-rely on a rookie in week 1.
Fair enough. Same with it. I'm okay with saving the extra cash. So,
and I could be wrong about that, and that's the Christian Kirk kind of thing. And the reason I'm fighting a little bit more towards Kirk and Samuel here is because their role is going to be the mover downfield. And while there's some decent enough linebackers on these teams, there's nothing like that credible threat that says that you shouldn't pass it this way. So that's something to think about as well. Okay, so we
have 16,000 left. Across 3 positions, averages 54.5.
That spread in the Colts game started at 1.5. Some books have it at 2.5. Some books have it at 3.5. To the Colts.
Yeah, but we've already factored this into our player rankings.
Right. So
when we put a defense in, we're up to 6,200 a person, by the way.
Okay. I mean, we do have Keon Coleman ranked a little bit higher, Joe. I mean, I guess that's your call.
I'm okay with the known rules. I mean, we can do one a little bit later, but it's 6,200. Here are the backs at 6,200 right now. White in Tampa, Connor, Walker is a tick below it. Eckler, Swift are all below it. Stevenson, and now we're just starting to get lower.
Okay, so I think the player that I'd like. So when I look at what's going to happen in these games, I do like Ken Walker in this game, in that 42.5 because he's going to get volume. There's going to be a pretty good amount of volume in that game.
I'm good with run defense.
Just because.
And then it gives us 63 for a flex.
It keeps us fairly profitable. Again, I also think that a guy like Joe Mixon could be a sneaky volume kind of guy if things get kind of sticky. I don't think this is the week to take a chance on a guy like Dobbins, but that game could be really gross.
I like White.
The over-under is at 40.5.
So I like Rachaad White here, and here's why. A, we can afford him, starting point. But B, Washington can't stop anybody. And it's given the fact that this is DraftKings, not underdog,
right?
With full value for his catches. And quite frankly, I don't see Washington being very good.
I'm willing to do that. I think that's good.
So here is our lineup when we're talking about this. This is Lawrence, A-Chain, Walker, Kirk, Samuel, Njigba, Ingram, White, and then the Bengals defense who are playing New England who might not get a first down.
That takes us down to 0, so that's good. You want to
and it's a perfect fill.
You want to spend as much money as you possibly can.
And we achieved the perfect outcome of the 3-1 in a high-scoring game. We're going to do this a couple different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Let's lock that bad boy in. Let's fire up another one.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that a lot. So I think the other way around is that we should now put in either a Buffalo stack or a Miami stack with that same game. So what I see a Miami stack as being would be Tua and Tyreek.
Well, give me a second, Bob. Let's fire it up.
Yeah, I think Tua and Tyreek will be
having a little difficulty on my side at the moment right now.
No, you're good. Tua and Tyreek will be an expensive combination. That's about 14,000, I think. But then we could take a cheap Jonnu Smith, right, on the tail end, and then we could probably take Brian Thomas or Kirk there in the as the opposite wide receiver if we decided to do something like that. You good over there?
I'm having technical difficulties. Long story short, DraftKings doesn't want me logged in 6 devices. I have to re-log in to fire this baby up.
All right, log it back in.
Taking just a second or two.
Yeah, and so, when we think about some other games, like we were saying, let me get that back. I just had that.
So which lineup were we looking for, Bob? Sorry, I wasn't able to hear you as I was focusing intently.
No, I think if we want to build the Miami lineup, I think the Miami lineup that will get us maybe some sneaky back end value is if we lay it on the line to just straight up and just say, okay, we're taking Tua, we're taking Tyreek, and then we take, instead of Achane, we take Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith probably isn't going to be very expensive, but it also locks us out of Evan Ingram, which could be possibly the other pass catcher on that team that we could look at.
Jonnu Smith is ridiculously cheap at 35. I like that. That puts us back in the game. What it does is it allows us to put you're right, it does take Ingram out, but it also saves a ton compared to what Ingram would have been. So Ingram right now is 55. We save $2,000 over that. So that's a pretty big deal.
So on the backside of what player to take from Jacksonville is we can either get Kirk, like I was saying earlier, or we can shoot for 1,000 lower and go for the Rook and Brian Thomas.
I like Kirk. I'm all for letting the Rooks not take off. So I like Kirk there. I don't have a problem with that. So obviously puts us in a different starting spot here. Now we only have
also
5,000 a person.
Also, if we want to go super, this game's going to be a boat race kind of smoke show. Gabe Davis is still around. The crux of many a DFS lineup on a week-to-week basis.
It is. Let's see what it costs.
The ultimate downfield threat.
We can do Davis instead of Kirk. Gives us an extra penny.
And there's enough information out there to say that it could be dealer's choice. They could be going downfield a little bit more. Let me look up some stuff here while you talk and get to
so as we try to round this out now, because now it's a math problem to make the lineups work here. I do like Kamara this week, especially with Miller being out. We know he's going to get a million catches. Carolina can't stop anything. I do like Kamara.
Okay.
I like Kamara more than Mixon. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit him in this lineup. He might be too expensive given the rest of it. But Kamara is certainly someone I want to look in later on in our as we're
again,
going forward.
like you were saying though, Jackson Smith and Jigba can fit right back into this lineup too. I know you don't. I know you kind of want to spread the board a little bit too, but he fits really well into this lineup too with the cost of Tyreek Hill and Tua.
He also gives you a little bit of stability too. I'm good with that. Give us a little bit of a value here. Like I said, I don't think we're gonna be able to fit Kamara in here. So we have 5,300 left for the let's sort of defense and get a couple extra bucks here up first. Try to go with the maximum one, cheapest defense on the board that's going to be realistically feasible. Probably the Steelers at 2,900. They might get you a couple sacks.
Okay, Joe, I just want to hold on a minute.
That gets us up to 6,100 a player.
Okay, my question to you is, in terms of coverages this week, is Jalen Ramsey's not going to shadow Gabe Davis this whole time, right?
Not going to shade him at all. Assuming Kirk. Actually, Ramsey actually stopped changing the field. So he's now just basically a left corner.
Because it has him listed here as right corner.
Well, then he's the right. That's my bad for going off the top of my memory. But regardless, he doesn't travel anymore.
Okay. Because it has him facing off against Gabe Davis. But I assume they're going to switch Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas around quite a bit. Left, right. Let's see. Okay. All right, Gabe Davis does enough. Yeah, so Gabe Davis is on the right side 36% of the time last year. Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with Gabe Davis still. I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, Zach.
So Moss, in the meantime, I put in here Kamara and Moss. Like I said, Kamara for all the reasons I said. We have Moss as for the players eligible for this slate as the second most profitable for this slate. So Moss is probably someone I want to try to get in here a little bit more. Only at 58, that's pretty affordable. And as we look about who we have left in our flex category, we got Eckler, Stevenson, Swift, London, Pollard, Neighbors, Zeke.
Keep going. I don't like any of that. We can spend 6.
Yeah.
We
got White again.
I'm not a fan of that Steelers. I know it's cheap, but I take that off the board.
You want to take the Steelers off the board? Okay, that's going to give you.
The reason being is that this is slated to be this is slated to be a close game. They're having the Steelers as the underdog in this game. The line's not super high.
Oh, it's not. That's the two reasons I went with the Steelers is, first off, their price is super low. The second reason is sacks are what drive the points more so than anything else.
Okay,
and I don't see a scenario where Kirk Cousins doesn't get sacked a bunch.
Let's see what happens if we see what this flex position looks like. I'm okay with the Steelers, but I do want to see if we can spend all of our money and not leave anything on the table. Let's get our flex.
So we'll just put in the cheapest defense, which right now is either the Commanders or Broncos. So just toss one of them in there. It doesn't really matter which one. And then that opens up our pathway of affordability to include Mostert, a guy that we have a ton of value on this week, gives us 4 Dolphins. I'm not opposed to that at all. Kind of like that, actually.
It opens the door for Rachaad White, also, like you were saying, who has a really should have a really good matchup.
Actually, we can do this. If you're okay going 4-1, I could take Kamara off, put Mostert and White in.
Yeah, I mean your statement for Kamara makes a lot of sense. It really does.
I mean, Carr just checks down so much.
He does check down often.
Mostert just might be our running back in our other lineups moving forward when we get away from the Jacksonville game. Maybe we could just accept that.
Yeah, that's totally something we can do too. I just want to see something here. So what I'm going to right now, Joe, is I'm going to one of our favorite rankings to also compare ours against is Justin Boone's rankings from the Score. He does have some valuable in-season rankings that are worth looking at. And I think just in terms of this decision-making process here, when we look at our rankings and when we look at his rankings here, I just want to see in terms of running backs. When we look at where the running back situation is, we have Rachaad White up here as 14 for the week. And he also has Rachaad White ranked fairly high. He has him as the 13th rated back.
Yeah.
And when we look at the week as well, when we look at where we have Kamara ranked, Kamara's ranked not super high. Again, thinking of the metrics that are being put in here, I think I'd rather roll with Rachaad White than Kamara, just based upon the matchup and just looking at these other,
totally fine with that.
Just looking at some other resources in relation to our own here. He doesn't have Kamara ranked too far below him, so that's good to know as well. But
so again, who that opens up in our flex, it doesn't open up a ton more. It does open up A-Chain, Kamara, Diggs, Mixon, Olave, which I'm not really thrilled about this week at all. Mixon could be a viable pick too. We know that Houston's going to score, although I think they're going to do it through the air more so.
Well,
DJ Moore is a sneaky pick.
I always like that.
I like that pick a lot for a couple reasons. A, he's the best receiver in Chicago, and I believe they're going to give a lot of easy passes.
All right. So then the other piece of this pie is, if we were to go, so Achane, what is 6,600 and DJ Moore 65?
Let's look that up. A-Chain is 68. So we would be able to upgrade from Moore to A-Chain.
But we would have to start the Commanders.
Yes. Which, we can't afford the Steelers right now anyway. We'd have to do a downgrade in total cost to get to the Steelers.
Who's floating around there as a 6,300 flex or a 6,100 flex? Who is out there?
6,100 flexes are
for that price.
Look at the 61 neighborhood. We're looking at Walker, Higgins, McBride.
I'd be okay. I'd be okay. I don't like flexing. I'm
okay with flexing Walker though.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too.
So let's throw Walker in there. Gives you more than enough for the Steelers.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
And then we have 300 left if we'd want to do an upgrade upon Gabe Davis.
Well, I think it would be more of an upgrade of the defense if there is an upgradable defense.
Or on the Jigba. We can also upgrade off the Jigba. That would put us at 52. Here's what those upgrades would look like. Thielen, Palmer, Thielen, Palmer, Judy, Shakir, Coleman, Myers.
Not an upgrade at all.
Yeah.
But
I'm good with this being the final lineup, Bob. I know we're taking 300 home, but
yeah,
I'm good with this being the final lineup.
It's as close to zero as we can make it. There's probably some other things that we're not seeing at this moment, but I do want to keep that game stack, that 3-1 game stack with the Jags and Miami. Yeah, send it.
Send it on up.
Send it. Let's do. Now this other stack, I think. Let me look. Let me look here. I think it would maybe be in our favor to do a. It's worth thinking about. It's worth thinking about the Titans-Bears game. The spread in that game is 4.5. Now it's down to 4 in some markets. The over and under is set at 45. It's also worth thinking about the like you said, the Texans Colts game. The over under there is 49. The spread is 3.
Well, we got to do the Houston game. The Houston one is the obvious one.
If we let's jump in. We can build it from a lot of different perspectives, but I think the smartest build in terms of the 3-1 would be something in the vein of, and depending on prices here, would be a CJ Stroud, Tank Dell, and
I clicked the wrong one.
And maybe a second one of those wide receivers. Not even the running back, not even Mixon. Just depends on the price of those guys. Because I'm not 1,000% certain that these cornerbacks for Indy are that great. And when we look at our rankings and when we look at Boone's rankings, right? When we look at our rankings and we're looking at Texans wide receivers here, Nico is ranked within the top 15. You got Tank Dell ranked in the top 30-ish, with Diggs falling behind there. Tight ends, I don't really want to touch Dalton Schultz, in this week's rankings, he's got Nico at 19, Tank at 26. So very much is very similar to what we have for the week. With Diggs falling. Yeah, it's very, very similar, Joe. In terms of our rankings for wide receiver this week are very, very, very similar.
Well, like I said, when you're doing math right, you're going to find other people who also know it as well. I mean, that's a very good thing for us.
Yeah, especially when it comes to those top guys. The only problem is that Stroud's expensive. Here's the other.
I'll let you build the Stroud one. I'll build the Richardson one. Let's go like that.
All right. So put in Stroud. And I think that's good. I think that's a good idea. All right. Go to the wide receivers. And
who do you want?
I want Tank Dell for sure.
There's a Tank at 55. Nice little price recovery.
Perfect. That's a good price.
Who's your other Texan?
How much does Diggs cost?
Diggs 67.
And how much is Nico?
Nico is 7.
Let's experiment. Throw Nico into the lineup to start with.
All right.
Because I might roll out. And how much was Mixon? Just as a price comparison.
Mixon is 66. We'll pull him when you need to pull him.
Yeah, pull him when you need to pull him. Then the guy I want on the other side of this coin. Can you just pull up all indie players? Are you capable of pulling up just indie players?
Does not let me pull up just indie players.
Like if you just typed in IND, would it pull up?
I wish I could, but it won't let me. It just goes off players' names.
All right.
Check it. It'll let me sort by them, although this is nowhere near as effective. When we look at Indy.
Okay, that's actually That's actually pretty good, though. It isn't effective, but it gives you all those players.
Be better if I could spell HI for those of you who are teaching children at home how to do the alphabet.
HI. Where's I? Did they totally skip it? I think they did.
It's definitely going.
Oh, it's within the other.
Oh, it's just doing the matchup. All right, so here's the Houston Indy matchup.
Annoying.
Everyone who's in it.
Okay, so how much? And this is the thing with this matchup is like with the way that we think that Anthony Richardson is going to perform. Who's the wide receiver to own in that game?
So
Taylor, how much is Taylor? Taylor is probably one of the highest running backs this week. I would believe.
Taylor, yes, he is. He is 76.
All right.
Or 78, sorry.
Can you take out Mixon? Actually, take out Taylor. He doesn't work. Take Taylor out, take Mixon out. We'll go somewhere else for these running backs. Getting the other I mean, how much is Pittman? Pittman's got to be like 7,000.
Pittman is 68, and then the other one you can look at is
Mitchell.
Yep.
All right.
38.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
unless you want to go Pierce.
Who's playing? Like, are they all? Because Downs was said to be Josh Downs injury, dealing with the groin injury. No update, but he's progressing well. And what does? Let me look at FanDuel real quick. All right, I want to look at that game. I want to see who they have as being.
All right, well, you're pulling that up. I'll throw up my Richardson lineup real quick. As I said, Richardson's going to be my guy. He's not hurt yet, so hopefully he'll actually finish the game. I do like your Tank Dell as the player across the line. It's a good price there.
It's a real good price, actually.
Yes, it is. When we're looking around here, now that Indy is down to one tight end, that's going to be one of my stacks here. Because as I said, I do not really think that all right, there's Jelani. Where's Jelani?
I mean, it would be Mo Alley Cox. There's a couple.
Where is he?
As well, probably. What's the other guy? There's another guy, not Cox.
Granderson, but Mo Alley would be.
Kyler Granson would be the other guy.
Mo Alley will be the one we throw in. And then I am going to put in Pittman. Gives me a ton of money left over. I'm just going to cut the corner now, throw the Steelers defense in because they're so cheap for the value. I think they're the best value this week. Gives me 65 even for the rest of it. Now I got to fill out a lot of stuff still, but when I look here, I love Mostert. It's one of our highest rated ones. I also love Moss. He's another good value as well. And that's a team that should be blowing out New England.
That's fair.
So I look at there, go, all right, I got myself a good start. I got 6,900 for my last receiver in flex.
You could even float a Tyreek Hill in there as well.
I could. But the guy I'm going to go with is Evans.
It's a good pick.
And that gives me 6,500 left for my flex. And yeah, I don't want to go Evans and Rashard White. Maybe going DJ Moore in that spot for all the reasons I said before.
I think
safe little check down.
Yeah, and that spends all your money. So
it certainly does.
That's a perfectly nice lineup.
All right, so give me a moment as it sticks that in there.
Yeah, I like that lineup with Anthony Richardson. Not pairing Taylor in that's probably really, really smart. Because we really don't know how that's going to shake down. It's even more difficult here with the. I thought it'd be a little bit easier here with the seeing what comes across the other side for the Texans. I wish you could flex Anthony Richardson at that price because he's basically going to run the ball as much as he can. All right, let's figure this out here, Joe. So we're gonna go with. Yeah, what's up?
It did something weird on me, and it's giving me a second here. So let's
okay. So
we jump back in here so we can make another entry.
Thinking about it, I think I'd like. Yeah, I definitely like Stroud. Definitely going with Tank. I think that those two have a nice price together on themselves, which I'm all for on that respect.
All right, loading, boom, boom, boom. So sorry for the technical difficulties here. If anyone has a way to make DraftKings run faster, I certainly would love to hear it. It's one of the drawbacks with DraftKings. They don't go very well for YouTube. But here we are, Bob. We're back up. And again, as always, shoot your fantasy questions if you want line of advice as well.
And right now, what we're doing is we're doing some DFS lineups, and we're focusing on building a main kind of stack here, a 3-to-1 stack in games that have a high profile over and under, where there's probably not going to be a lot of pressure coming on either side of the quarterback. Right now, the lineup that Joe just built one where the 3-to-1 stack was the Colts versus the Texans, and I'm doing it the opposite way, where the Texans have the 3 players versus the 1 player to the Colts. And it's a little bit of a struggle because there's a lot of
so expensive.
There's more expensive players here. So we're going Stroud, and then we're going Tank Dell. Tank Dell is probably
Dell's the value of this game. There's no doubt about that.
Number 1, 5,500. Now the question is do we go Nico at 7 or Mixon at 65? Mixon's not an incredible pass catcher, so that kind of stack doesn't really matter.
I'd argue for Collins.
So Collins gives me the third Texan. Then the search goes for the first Colt, which that's where that issue comes in at. In that,
I kind of punted with Mo Alec Cox. I'm not gonna lie.
I think we're gonna play. Let's just tentatively.
I'll get centered to the screen. I only see like half your face right now.
Let's just tentatively put in Adonai Mitchell because he's cheap.
Mitchell, gotcha.
Let's just tentatively put him in because there's some other teams here that I want to take advantage of.
Fair enough. That gets you a 52 a year a thing. Do you want to stick in the Steelers defense or cheapest defense?
Let's just wait.
Okay.
Let's go tight end. Okay. And I want Kincaid.
Hard to fight the Kincaid.
So with Dalton Kincaid, I'm getting what should be a really good pass catcher in this game that's supposed to be.
Kincaid might be the steal of the week.
At 5,800, that is one of the cheaper great tight ends that we have coming out the board here.
Might be the cheapest per touchdown we get.
Then I've got to ask you about Mike Evans. How much was Mike Evans? 73. Okay. A little bit too much for my blood. Let's go down the board a little bit. And I want to look at Mostert. So throw Mostert into that lineup. I think that's going to be good for us.
All right, 46.
And that's
is your new average.
We can work with some stuff here. All right. Show me what Zamir White costs.
Zamir White will run you 57.
57.
5.
Okay. What about
57.
okay. 57. All right. What about
if you toss him in there, you have another probably good mid-50s with the cheap defense.
Okay, throw me that cheap defense. Throw me the cheapest defense you can. That's good. So Steelers maybe? The Steelers the cheapest defense.
The Steelers is the best value at 29.
Looking at those other yeah. Okay. So we're looking at 54. Okay, that's not as bad as I thought it was. That's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. But is Zamir White the best at 57 that I can get? Let's see.
Take a look. See. So in the 57 neighborhood, you have Singletary, you have Najee, Warren, Charbonnet, Williams in Denver, Ford, Chandler, Edwards, Hubbard, Beat. That's not Beach on. That's Brian. Too many Robinsons out there playing running back, guys. Cleo Herbert, who's not worth it this week.
Okay. And how much? Okay, so he's priced just a little bit outside of the realm at 55. Brooks isn't playing. Gus Edwards isn't playing. So Zamir White was 57, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, take him out. How much was Najee again?
Najee, it's going to be right up here at 56. So actually cheaper than White.
And how much was Kenny Walker again?
You do love yourself some Kenny Walker. I might as well just start putting him in your roster. He's 61. I think there's a value there.
Yeah, but I might not be able to build that.
You'd have 5,000 left if you toss him in.
All right, play him. Let's see what we can play with. I'd love to flex a wide receiver here, but I don't think
ton of 5,000 flexes here.
Was it allowing you to flex out quarterback? That was weird.
No, that just said all for some reason. You got Bigsby, Brown in Cincinnati, Algier, Coleman, Myers, Dobbins. Dobbins could fall in the end zone twice for you. Gibson.
Okay,
Foreman.
can I do something here? So take Walker out. And I said earlier that I'm not sure that I want to build Dobbins, but Dobbins and Gus Edwards are pretty cheap here.
Mm-hmm.
They both could definitely fall in the end zone against the Raiders because they could probably move this ball. How much is Edwards and how much is Dobbins?
Dobbins is 49. Edwards is 53.
Okay, give me Dobbins.
That's a good value down there.
All right, so
62 on your flex.
now we're playing 62.
Again, flex, not all. Now we're looking at Connor, Metcalf, Walker, Higgins, McBride, Eckler, Swift, London. London is someone I would definitely not go with given his cornerback matchup this week.
Shadowed. Swift is interesting.
Swift is interesting. If you believe he's going to check down a lot, it's going to be handed off.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's.
Or we could go to bare minimum cheapest defense and get an extra 400, which would take you up to 66, which now opens up Mixon and Olave. Aaron Jones, Moore, Cooper, and White.
All right. You know what? Here's the issue that I'm having with this.
I want to hear it.
I know I want it. I know I want that 3-to-1. I know I want that 3-to-1 stack, but I don't. Adonai Mitchell, man, I just at the price. I don't know. Like, seems kind of a. I wish we knew more about Josh Downs' health. I wish we knew more about that. Alec Pierce is there too. It's just, but he's more expensive. That doesn't track for me. Yeah.
He did not play on Wednesday's practice, so I want to rely on.
So let us go in and let's experience. So go back to the flex positions here. And this is just a struggle and a half to try to get something going here. Go back down. I think I'm just going to put Ken Walker in the flex. I think that's just the solution. And move on to the next one.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, building that 3-1 with the Texans is really difficult because they're all high priced. They're all infinitely higher priced than I thought they were going to be this week 1. All right. Want to do one more? We'll rip off one more here.
I think we should. So the
game. Okay, I'm going to share this right now because I think that it's going to have some weird implications. And when we really look at things, okay, so when I'm looking at these rankings and I'm looking at Chicago's cornerbacks, all of these matchups for Chicago outside of Tyler Boyd. So the two, if you were to throw out the two main wide receivers, if, say Hopkins was healthy and Ridley was healthy, right? They have green matchups with these cornerbacks from Chicago. And I know it's not the sexiest play, but again, winning can happen at any angle. I am interested at the value cost of doing a stack like this. And let me check the health. Let me check the health of is DeAndre Hopkins playing? Practices for the Titans, hurt his knee in July. Okay. I'm interested in what could be done if we do a Will Levis stack. Because Will Levis has got to be on the super cheap side when it comes to
is.
Now, Will Levis, this game specifically, has a decent amount of upside, Joe. I mean, he isn't ranked very highly in our quarterback rankings because we wouldn't want him in our lineup in like a regular league, right?
No.
But he is ranked high enough, that, or he's ranked low enough in terms of value here that in a matchup that has a really high over-under total with a defense that really is not very great at stopping through the air, right? Will Levis, for me, is one of those players that, yeah, it seems a little too cute when you look at the scope of all the quarterbacks in there. But if we can sneak in a Will Levis, Calvin Ridley, Chigok Anakwo, or Durham Smythe kind of stack, then we can maybe slip in a Tyreek Hill or Devin Achane in there as well. Because this now gives us...
So who from Chicago do you want to put in there?
So the Chicago, we could throw DJ Moore in on the other side, or even DeAndre Swift. And we've got a lot of money to play with.
You do. Yes, certainly do.
And the reason I think that this could be definitely something to look at, and I'm going to go over to FanDuel a minute for the lines on this game.
Which lines you looking at? I got them all right here.
No, I'm just looking at the reception totals and stuff for this.
Gotcha. Well, I don't have the prop bets. I have what our lines will be. And by the way, we do have some value bets. I've already put my first bet of the year in, guys. Super excited for that. I'll be sharing with you that at the end of the episode.
So they don't have any of the players yet, or they don't have any of the wide receivers yet for Tennessee because I guess they're not sure if Hopkins is going to be healthy or not, right? And when we look at some of the rushing props here, it's got Will Levis maybe rushing the ball a little bit. Could get.
Who does have higher, Spears or Pollard?
Spears in terms of rushing totals.
Yeah.
It has Pollard at 44.5, Spears at 34.5, and their combined rushing and receiving, Spears at 52.5 and Pollard at 59.5.
Mm-hmm.
So It's relatively close there, and DeAndre Swift is at 56.5. So I think Swift is a little bit too much. But when we look at
J-Jeff in this lineup,
when we look at this game here in terms of receptions, like how many receptions are they going to get? He is minus 145 for 5+ receptions. So I think DJ Moore is a safer pick on the opposite side than any of those other, any of the other Chicago guys. I mean, Keenan Allen could be too because he's minus 120 on that 5.5 or 5+. Okay, so we got a lot to play with here.
If I were you, I'm pushing for J-Jeff.
Why J-Jeff?
Because I've never seen the Giants show up in 7 years, and J-Jeff is the only weapon in Minnesota. He has to have the ball thrown his way, and with Addison still being slightly dinged, and who knows what other option they even have, J-Jeff might get 16 targets.
All right, let's roll. See if we can build a lineup with J-Jeff in it here.
I think we can, because we have 5 even now left, and we haven't even put the defense in yet. So when we throw a cheap defense, the value defense of the Steelers in,
assuming that the Steelers will do well.
Well, I'm not even assuming they're doing well. I just assume they're going to sack the quarterback who can't move. They do have some of the best pass rushers in the world.
Okay. So we've got 5,700 to play with 3 guys here.
And that's doable, man.
Putting in, all right, Mike Evans is definitely a play in this scenario as the wide receiver 3 on this team.
All right, let's put in Evans and then see how cheap we go at backs.
T. Higgins could be an option as well,
All right, so we have basically 5,000 and 4,900 for your backs. So that's going to put us in this neighborhood.
Okay, well,
here's the where you want to be shopping.
Here's the other thing too. Can you see how much Chris Godwin is? The reason I ask is,
Godwin is 58.
58. Okay, so the reason I ask that is just taking a look. Mike Evans is obviously highly ranked this week, no questions asked. And we come down and we look at Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin's kind of just right there in the middle of the pack.
Just putting Jefferson in the receiver slot.
Hold on. I would also think about flexing Tank Dell in this lineup.
All right.
Because he's 55, right?
It's good value.
A little bit cheaper. We know he's probably going to be involved in this game plan fairly heavily.
And that gives you a lot more money at the running back spot.
With not much lost production, I don't think.
I don't think so either.
All right. So, running backs. We can go anywhere here. Really anywhere. We got 11-7 to spend. So we could do we could do an Achane and Mostert combo, maybe. I think that's
you won't be able to afford both of them.
It's too much.
Yeah.
We could go Rachaad White at 63, which is going to be nice. We could go Connor as well. Again, could be a boat race, but at the same point in time, they will probably get him involved.
See, if you want to touch Arizona, I want to be in that passing game.
I do, but we don't have any space.
No, we don't. So this just isn't the lineup for it, and we just accept that as a cost of doing business. So let's toss Mostert in there. We have Mostert ranked incredibly high for where he's at. That gives us 53. Now we're looking at Edwards, Hubbard, Brian Robinson.
Ugh.
Edwards is probably the best of the bunch, or Tajay.
No, I don't.
You're doing a Tennessee hit here anyway.
Can you take Mostert out for a moment?
Sure can.
See, and this is why, like the J-Jeff hit. I know I get the understanding of J-Jeff there, but he definitely commands a high value that creates a disparity between what we think.
If you want to take J-Jeff out, we can do it right now.
Here we go. Hold on. Go down. a guy we were talking about yesterday that you're fairly high on in terms of, especially in a PPR format in this game, would be Javonte Williams. We have built him in there. He's 55. And that gives us what? At least
62. So that'd be a James Conner or another one with Walker.
Yeah, I'd say dealer's choice.
You know, I like I said, I'd rather be in the team that's going to win and run the ball out. That's Walker.
And I mean, now that's 2 running backs from the same game, but
they're different styles. The one is, if it goes according to script, Walker's going to run the thing out, and Williams is going to try to catch the ball coming back into it. And Javonte, if he ends up being the Kamara, I mean, you can be looking at a crazy amount of catches this week.
You know, I'm not going to say, but I think this is actually a really. I don't think Will Levis is going to be the number 1 quarterback this week by any stretch of the imagination.
Nope.
But there is a pathway, especially in this slate of games. Okay. I'm not saying overall number 1 or overall top 5 for this week, but I think there's a pathway for Will Levis in this slate of games for Sunday that DraftKings is going off of here, that he does have a pathway to finish a top 5, especially when
he does.
Especially when
you got to look at it as the model is all about the value, and you can't be doing what everyone else is doing. So some zigging and zagging does help.
And, you know, even if, let's just say, and going back, if I go back to our stats from a couple months ago here, and we look at, I want my QB sort from here. Hold on 1 minute. As I go through the stats and I look at, you know, where his top game could be at. Remember when we were talking about, weekly winners, and we were going through all those sorts, and we were sharing, you know, hey, does this person have the chance to cap up at a really good level here? Will Levis, when he first came out, looked pretty good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then he got the jitter, so he capped out at 26.6 in his first start for the Titans.
And theoretically, this is going to be his best off the bat. I mean, you're coming into a situation. Sure, Chicago has a decent pass rush, but you've also been preparing for this the whole time.
Exactly.
This is the peak he should be.
That's kind of my perspective here.
The cautionary tale is virtually the exact same story was true about Kenny Pickett last year, and he threw 7 interceptions or something like that in week 1. So
yeah, I get that.
It's no guarantee, but again, these are $3 rollouts to try to get $50,000. You got to go a little bit different, and you got to nail it. So the number one thing to take away from this episode is the 3-to-1 stack, and the other thing that we're going to give you right now is going to be our first wave of bets for week 1. I got 3 bets for you. They're kind of been implicit in what you just saw us do here. The first is, and I love this, and I'm starting this intentionally, we have the first wrong team of the year listed as a favorite. You know I love these guys. 8 out of 9 of these last year when the wrong team was listed as the favorite, hitting it on the money line. This week, Dallas Cowboys should be the favorite in Cleveland. They're not. Dallas is going to win that game. The other 2 bets are going to be Cincinnati -7.5. These guys should be 12-point favorites. These guys are going to annihilate New England. And along that lines, the over-under is too low. It should be over. So right now, the over-under, I have it read as off the books. The over-under is listed at 40.5. We think it should be at 44.5. So you got lots of juice there. Mm-hmm. Cincinnati being one of the safest bets. They're going to put up some points.
And I will say,
whether Chase plays or not, quite frankly.
A good triple stack in that is if you're going and you're playing Burrow, Higgins, and Gesicki, you could go Burrow, Higgins, Chevy's. If Chase isn't playing, you could go Burrow, Higgins, Moss.
I'm going to be toying around after we turn up the air here with a Burrow, Higgins, Moss and go from and see what I can do with that.
The only problem is like we were having with the 3-to-1 stack for
who do I want from New England?
New England.
That's a very hard question.
But I will bring up, Joe, too, that we did DraftKings today, and tomorrow we could definitely venture into an underdog draft.
That's what we're going to
do. DFS, and in there, we don't have to worry about money. We just take the players that we think in those stacks if we have the ability to do it. And oftentimes, that building that Buffalo stack, a lot of people are building the Buffalo stack.
But you can get some stacks from places you don't normally see.
I'm definitely excited for that as well. So we'll be with you tomorrow, 3:45. Again, we'll be doing some DFS action. So join us tomorrow, 3:45. And we'll be talking more about these games. Maybe the lines will have moved. Maybe a whale will have come in and moved some of these lines that we could discuss some of that movement as well in terms of players. But again, what you heard today is pretty, I think a lot of people are not. The
lines aren't going to jump until Sunday morning. And this is where we're at right now.
I think a lot of people aren't following certain players or certain games in terms of these DFS lineups. I'm really intrigued by a lot of those lines that we said today.
Absolutely. Well, we love you all for watching. Click subscribe, and we'll be with you again tomorrow